alaikum. Welcome to the program. This is the mid-morning show with me, Julie Ali. It is just coming up now to 10 minutes after 11 o'clock, and let's dive right in. Our first interview is with Anisa Moosa. She is the National Coordinator at the National Shelter Movement of South Africa. And clearly we are talking about the 16 days of activism. Of no violence against women and girls. Assalamu alaikum to you, dearest Anisa. Lovely to be chatting. Long time no see and speak. Welcome to the program.
Walaikum salam to you, Sister Ali, and to all the listeners out there. Yes, it has been a long time, and inshallah, you know what, we'll be a little bit more frequent than before.
I look forward to that. Let's get started and talk about the 16 days of activism, what the key issues are around gender-based violence, and where and how does the National Shelter Movement fit into the bigger scheme of things?
Okay, so yes, annually since the year 2000, the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence is something that's commemorated all over the country, and even globally. But I think also, first off, we need to emphasize the fact that gender-based violence and femicide is a 365-day issue, not just 16 days. Yes, it's great that we draw attention to it during times like Women's Month, the 16 days of activism. But like I said, it's all throughout. This year, globally, there's a lot of attention given to what they call digital facilitated gender-based violence. Here in South Africa, we're looking at a theme which looks at working together to eliminate gender-based violence, and that includes men, women, boys, girls, all of us. So it's a collective effort, and that's the emphasis: is that gender-based violence affects everybody, not just women. We know that, and speaking about that, although the National Shelter Movement of South Africa deals with gender equality, we in an umbrella body for over 100 shelters, gender-based violence shelters for women and children. We also place women in shelters. We're also very involved with some of our key goals, our policy review, research review, advocacy, and then we also have a 24-hour shelter placement service, which I can tell you a little bit more during the course of the program about, and how to get a hold of the helpline should you need assistance. We've just completed our 5th annual national shelter in Daba over 3 days, where we got stakeholders in the gender-based violence space together to look at where we at, where it is that we need to go. So yes, there's a lot of activity happening, especially now, like I said, during 16 days. And we also try to support shelters through that. We will bring up a little bit later some of the challenges that shelters face, but yes, through the program, we will cover that. Thanks.
I think a lot of people don't understand the role of shelters. Can you walk us through what support survivors do receive when they reach a shelter for support?
Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up, Sister Ali, is that, there's a misconception that shelters just provides temporary accommodation. It's a lot more than that. From the helpline where we place women, it's a gateway service. It's the beginning where most women begin their recovery process when they leave an abusive relationship. It's more than accommodation for a woman and her child. It includes psychosocial services and support. It may include programs for capacity building, healing, whether it be life skills, self-awareness programs, what we call women's economic empowerment opportunities. So, where possible, depending on the resources available to a shelter, we would try to provide skills development so that when she leaves the shelter, she can be more self-reliant and financially more independent. So in sometimes she might require legal assistance, medical assistance. Some shelters, some, not all, would accept women who have addiction problems and difficulty. And remember that addiction is also an intersectionality when we come to gender-based violence, whether it was a contributing factor or it's a coping mechanism. And then a lot of survivors also struggle with mental health issues. So there again, those are some of the things that a shelter would try to provide, again, dependent on the kind of resources and facilities that are available.
Okay, let's go for an ad break. When we come back, we'll continue this very important discussion regarding the National Shelter Movement of South Africa, the role they play and how they can support women who are victims of gender-based violence.
Yet many children go to school hungry because of poverty. Penny Appeal South Africa's Breakfast Club aims to get a warm, hearty meal to underprivileged children so they can spend their day prospering in their schoolwork. Help feed a needy learner for only R5 a day, or R150 a month. Or visit our website www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 1100 573 to find out how you can donate. Penny Appeal South Africa. Small change, big difference.
Yasin Badat Financial Advisory. Are your financial goals feeling out of reach? Yasin Badat Financial Advisory is here to turn your aspirations into achievements. Our dedicated team, armed with a history of success, is ready to guide you through the complex nature of financial and investment planning. Whether you're a seasoned investor or new to the game, our personalized solutions cater to your unique goals and risk appetite. Trust in our commitment to transparency, integrity, and excellence. Ready to unlock a world of financial freedom? Partner with us today. Call Yasin Badat Financial Advisory at +27 33 346 2071 or visit www.yasinbadat.com. Yasin Badat Financial Advisory, guiding you to financial success.
When the perfect blend of stylish decor, exquisite halal cuisine, and warm hospitality come together, it could only mean Al Bayt Lodge, your true home away from home. Al Bayt is the ideal heaven for families, business people, and tourists with its 4-star family rooms and other luxurious facilities. Conveniently situated close to Port Elizabeth Airport, the beach, and other amenities, your stay will be truly unforgettable, as you'll be taking home lasting memories of the warm hospitality, the serenity and tranquility that Al Bayt has to offer. For reservations, call 041 583 6415 or visit www.albaytlodge.co.za.
Hey Gulam.
Yeah?
Did I return your lawnmower last month?
No, bhai, you didn't.
Oh no. Now what'll I do? I wanted to borrow it again, man.
With Randry Jewelers, you won't have to borrow or lend because the prices are so well trimmed on all gold and diamond jewelry. Alternatively, we could remake your old jewelry into a brilliant new design. Visit Randry Jewelers at 151 Stevens Lamini Road, Musgrave, Durban. Randry Jewelers, the family name you can trust.
For too many communities across Africa and the world, access to clean water remains a dream. At African Muslims Agency, we dig deep, reaching into the heart of the earth to fill the cups of those in need. Sponsor a water well for only 16,500 Rand or a borehole for 65,000 Rand in Africa or Afghanistan. With water comes food, health, education, and growth. Give water, give life with Africa Muslims Agency.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
Welcome back. It's exactly 19 after 11 o'clock. We are talking with Anisa Moosa, who is the National Coordinator at the National Shelter Movement of South Africa. Anisa, the all-important question, what programs or initiatives, and I know you indicated at the beginning of the interview that really the GBV awareness is a 365 days a year initiative. But these 16 days that are set aside, let's look at the type of initiatives you run to create deeper and more meaningful awareness campaigns around GBV issues.
Okay, so like I mentioned early in the program, the National Shelter Movement of South Africa is an affiliate body for over 100 shelters all over South Africa, right? So bearing that in mind, you will have shelters all across the country engaging in intense and robust awareness programs in their own communities. We also have the private sector and individuals often partnering and collaborating to distribute monetary or material assistance to shelter survivors. We also have organizations partnering together, like clinics, like universities, who invite us to present on gender-based violence and the kind of work that we do. Then, interestingly enough, this year as well, we've got media collaborations that even go towards Instagram reels to post success stories, to give people hope, to motivate them to reach out for help themselves. And also those stories would include those working with gender-based violence, including social workers, therapists, shelter workers, even survivors, activists, advocates, and stakeholders. So that's very exciting and different. But also one of our other projects which we are piloting the 16 days is what we call the CEO Sleep Out. That's something that we want to roll out every year in August during Women's Month, but we're piloting it the 16 days. And what it includes is when we talk about the CEO Sleep Out, the CEO is a member of the private sector, whether it be an executive member, CEO, a manager, who will spend a day and a night in a shelter. And the reason for that is to be able to identify what survivors, to be able to experience what it's like to be in a shelter, to go through the process. And we're hoping that we would get more and more support as that project gets rolled out. There will be more information about it later on, as after the pilot project and when we open it up to CEOs. It also helps us to partner through the project with the private sector, and CEOs are welcome to make any kind of contribution, donation, funding available to the shelter that they spend the day and the night at.
I think it's a brilliant initiative. I know a couple of years ago, Radio 702 ran a similar initiative, but from a different perspective, of course. They have, and I'm not sure if it's still ongoing, they have the CEO Sleep Out, so that CEOs from large corporates can experience what it's like to be homeless, and thereby creating very sustainable partnerships, and try and create, more awareness and support, I guess, homeless people. So I like what you guys have done, CEO. I think it's a brilliant initiative, and I do hope you're going to get lots of participation. But having said all of that, Anisa, I think the big problem, not only with the national shelter movement, but I think with all upliftment programs and charitable organizations all around the country. There is the issue regarding financial constraints, and it seems as if the pie is getting smaller and smaller because there are so many different organizations trying to do their bit to uplift, the neediest of the needy. So that too should be, I imagine, quite a challenge for the national shelter movement.
It is, Sister Ali, thank you for so much for bringing that up, because At the moment, we're seeing shelters, especially in Gauteng, the last 2 years have been particularly difficult. And when we talk about challenges related to funding, we've seen shelters shut down. We've seen shelters suspend services. And with it, obviously, comes us having to turn survivors away. And the implications for turning survivors away is that we forcing them to stay in abusive relationships where the threat is great. There's also a threat to femicide. Because coming back to the purpose of shelters, and like we reinforce that it's more than just accommodation, it saves lives. And shelters are also an opportunity for transformation. When women don't get that kind of support, they lose faith and confidence in the system. Remember that aside from the fact that shelters are closing down because of lack of resources, simple things, day-to-day things like not enough funding for transporting survivors to a local hospital, or not enough bed space. Already, we know that the number of shelters and bed space in the country doesn't match the need based on the statistics of gender-based violence in South Africa. And then added to that burden, also us, the helpline as a placement service, it places greater burdens on shelters that are still functional and operational. So, the consequences to not having sustainable and consistent funding is a big problem. And this is why also shelters are forced to outsource or be creative and innovative in the kind of ways that we outsource funds. And I did mention the CEO, Sister Adi, you also mentioned a CEO project where NGOs are forced to look outside of government sources of funding. That's aside from the fact that funding is not consistent, it's not standardized. So when I said depending on the resources available to a particular shelter, and I haven't even brought up the fact that, you get certain provinces where there's resources closer to each other, then you get rural areas or remote areas. Certain provinces, shelters are very far apart. Even Northern Cape, Eastern Cape, we're fortunate enough that we have Uber services in 4 of the provinces where we can transport, and that's a great partnership that we've strengthened. In fact, this month, Uber's asked us to have a little reel on the app that tells people who are logging on to the Uber app about the National Shelter Movement of South Africa. So those are the kind of partnerships that do help us to fill gaps, but we still need to find more consistent and standardized and secure ways to raise funds so that survivors do not suffer.
I should imagine, Anisa, that community involvement is crucial because I guess with them being close, working closely with the shelters, they can be that much more supportive in very many different ways and possibly lessen the load on the shelter, the National Shelter Organization or movement.
Yes, definitely. We always needing community involvement. We always needing community support. Everything helps. Even like with certain shelters, maybe not material assistance or funding, but let's say, for example, they can offer a skill, they can do maintenance, they can fix something that reduces the cost of the shelter. In fact, recently also in the last 6 months, we've launched a Back a Buddy campaign, and the link is on our website as well. If anyone would like to make contributions, whatever amount, any bit helps.
Okay, and let's talk about success stories. I mean, when we talk about the 16 days of activism, that in itself just brings you down because you realize just how sick a world we are living in. But that doesn't mean that it needs to be that way. It's people like yourselves, National Shelter Movement, and other such organizations that offer a glimmer of hope. So what do those success stories look like?
I have to tell you from the onset that a success story is something that takes a lot of work from a survivor. It's a long-term process. It's a gradual process. I did mention that sometimes it starts with the decision to leave an abusive relationship. How woman also leaves depends on her circumstances. Does she have children? Are there intersections involved? Where does she go? Does she have family support? Is she employed? Is she not employed? So to answer your question, there are success stories. It starts sometimes with the help of a shelter service. We've had people who've told us about their experience at a shelter. I have to say that living in a shelter is not the easiest of things also, and that is why sometimes we have to prepare a survivor for going into a shelter. There are rules, and those rules are meant only for the safety of the survivor and the other residents in a shelter. We have to prepare them. It is communal living, but a lot of them get support. They heal from it. They move on to build their lives. I did mention women's economic empowerment opportunities where women get trained in different skills so that they can rebuild their lives, and they do. Some of them have done so. There are many activists who were survivors, who started out as survivors, who built from there, who made contributions, who become advocates in the gender-based violence space. We've even had stories of children who remember being in a shelter with their mums. We've had, there are many success stories, but I think the highlight there is that it is a journey. It's not an easy one, but there definitely are success stories, and there is help out there, and there is support.
Anisa Moosa, National Shelter Movements of South Africa, shukran very much for being on the show with us this morning. And all I can say is hats off to all of you at the shelter, doing amazing work, and keep it up, because I think if it weren't for people like yourselves doing this type of work, goodness knows where these women would land up. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from one and all. Go well, and salaam alaikum to you.
Inshallah. Ameen. Jazakallah to everybody. Assalamu alaikum.
11:32. This is the mid-morning show moving along, and next we will be talking with Camilla Knight Morake, Islamic Careline Social Auxiliary Worker, and we're going to be looking at parenting skills.